Hello, everyone. I'm Kenny Rice, and welcome into this edition of the Horse Racing Show as we get closer to Breeders' Cup Day at Keeneland. And Brittany Urton from NBC Sports will join us in a few moments. And then later on, the Vice President of Media and Entertainment for the Breeders' Cup, Peter Rotondo. So that's the show we have today as we get ready for what has become a mainstay for sports fans. Obviously for horse racing fans, but I think a lot of sports fans, even with the football games going on, will be flipping back and forth to catch up on some of the horse racing action because you're going to have plenty of it over 2 days at Keeneland in just 2 weeks on Friday and again on Saturday. 14 races, over $30 million in purses, highlighted by the $6 million Classic. This all started in 1984. Actually, about 1982. It was the brainchild of John Gaines, the late John Gaines of Gainesway Farm in Lexington, Kentucky. He got up at the Eclipse Awards and started talking about one big day, like a Super Bowl of horse racing, where horses from all over the world would gather. They would run in races based on gender, based on distance, based on turf or dirt. And people thought that's awfully ambitious. Will it work? And 2 years later, they had it at Hollywood Park. They had virtually every big star in Hollywood came out. And it was on NBC, and they did a 7-race day. It was later expanded to 8 races, all done in one day. And then in 2007, they started with this 2-day event, and it's been that since then. And again, it features some of the best horses in the world. Just about every horse that's healthy is going to be running in this thing. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun to see. All right, welcome back in. The leader of the band, Scott Hall. Scott, how are you?
I'm good, Kenny. How are you, buddy?
Good. Now, you're a guy that likes a lot of sports. You're an old football player. I'm sure you'll be watching some football games that day, but
Yes,
you know
sir.
some horse racing. So, the good thing is you can flip over for about two and a half minutes or less, see your horse race, and get back and probably won't miss too many plays.
That's right. And plus, it's all, there's the Breeders' Cup kind of ties it all together in my book, It's a weird year, but it's so many great stories from there, so you never know what you'll get, and that's kind of the exciting thing about it. That many
And
races.
just like always, this is going to be a year where it's going to decide divisional champs, which is not unusual. It certainly is going to decide the horse of the year, which might be decided in either the Classic or in the Distaff, depending on how that shakes out. You could have the possibility of a Distaff with Monomoy Girl running against Swiss Skydiver. The Classic, which we'll talk more about in depth, has some terrific horses in it. And if there's one silver lining about this crazy year for everybody, and especially sports and especially horse racing, it is with the way that the Triple Crown shaked out, running later than usual by far. You're going to have winners of all 3 Triple Crown races running in the Breeders' Cup. Now, that's very rare.
Yes,
that's
it is.
very rare.
Yeah.
So that's what's coming up. And coming up on the show right in just one moment, we'll be talking with Brittany Urton of NBC Sports as we take a closer look at what's coming up in the Breeders' Cup. You're listening to The Horse Racing Show. You're listening to The Horse Racing Show. Thank you for tuning in on YouTube, on the radio, or if you're listening to us on Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, or iHeart. I'm Kenny Rice, and delighted to have this lady with us. She is a friend and a colleague at NBC. You can also see her at TVG. Basically, if there's a big horse race literally around the globe, Brittany Urton is there covering it. Brittany, welcome back in.
Oh, Kenny, thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You have been everywhere. I don't know if there's an event that you haven't covered in horse racing that you would like to cover.
I feel really grateful and lucky and privileged to be able to travel the world to cover horse racing. I have seen some remarkable race meetings, just races in general, met a lot of wonderful people between Dubai and Royal Ascot and Hong Kong. On the bucket list, though, is Australia. That would be number one for me right now that I haven't been able to quite visit, capture, cover.
Let's see, that Melbourne Cup, I got to write that date down. See, that could be your next one then.
It's always a conflict with Breeders' Cup, though. That's one of the most challenging things is typically it's the same weekend. I actually think this year it might be separated by a week. So it would be my only opportunity to go. But then the pandemic decided to come in and restrict travel.
We're never letting you leave the Breeders' Cup. You know that.
I love the Breeders' Cup. It is two of my favorite days in racing, hands down.
And this year, you and I had a really interesting experience. We were the only two NBC reporters. Of course, the race caller, Larry Colmus, was there, but we were the only two reporters with feet on the ground at all three Triple Crown races. And, I got to be honest, by the Preakness, I was kind of used to it. I knew I was going to look around and there'd be nobody in the stands, but it certainly was an interesting one, but a real exciting Triple Crown.
It was. We got a little bit of everything. And to describe it as surreal, weird, strange, eerie would be the only words that I can really come up with to describe just being at the track under this year's circumstances. The Belmont was the most strange for me. One, because it's the largest venue, but we didn't have owners at that point in time. So I think you and I were really lucky to be a part of something like that. We will never forget 2020 and how horsemen, just specifically in the racing world, adjusted, and the incredible performances by these wonderful athletes that we witnessed. The Preakness, for me, goes down as one of the best races I have seen in a long time.
Yeah, and the thing that's really impressed me about this is coming into the Breeders' Cup now. We'll talk about the Classic more specifically, but we're going to have Authentic's going to be in there. And, of course, Tiz the Law, two winners from Triple Crown races. And whether or not she's in the Distaff or in the Classic, Swiss Skydiver is going to get attention. And the whole point of this is I can't remember a year when three good 3-year-olds that had been through a Triple Crown. Of course, again, we're not talking about a spring Triple Crown. We're talking about a readjusted one. But that they're going to be in the Breeders' Cup races and be very formidable in all the Breeders' Cup races that they're in.
I haven't either, and perhaps it's because of the way that this Triple Crown season has evolved. These horses have had more time to develop. We're getting to see them at their best because they are bigger, stronger, mentally more mature. So maybe that's why we're seeing the 3-year-olds as such strong contenders this year in the year-end championships. If we could see the winner of each Triple Crown race matching up together in the Breeders' Cup Classic, that would be epic. Just those three alone make it a great race. But then you add in the older horses, Improbable, Tom Seta, Maximum Security, and the controversy surrounding him. We could be set up for one of the best Breeders' Cup Classics in the history of the Breeders' Cup.
Oh, yeah, well said, because, you look at that, and on paper right now, that to me, that's the go-to race. But, there's other races out there that I always enjoy. I don't know why. I always like the Sprint. Generally unpredictable. That's one of my favorite races. I don't know if you have a favorite race out there I know one race that you like, I bet, was last year's Juvenile. That might be your all-time favorite when your dad's long shot Storm the Court won it. And one of the great moments in Breeders' Cup history on camera was when NBC secretly put a camera on you, and you rode a great race, by the way, Brittany, in bringing Storm the Court home.
You guys are very sneaky. I had no idea that our producer, Billy Matthews, had told everybody that you were going to put a camera on me just in case Storm the Court won. I'll say it's kind of an out-of-body experience when I'm rooting one of my dad's horses on. I have I'm not conscious to the fact that people are watching me or I'm on camera. I'm just trying to get that horse home. It was a very proud moment for me, for my dad. I know how hard he works. I know how much he loves what he does. I know how much he loves these animals. So to see that come to fruition at our home track at Santa Anita was just a moment I'll never forget, personally and professionally, a true highlight of my career.
You know what? I still love to look at it because it was so organic. I mean, it was a moment that's happening and you're so in the moment. And, it was great for your whole wonderful family. I didn't know
my voice could get that high.
It was
or
a little
that
high.
I started punching. I mean, I don't know where that little jab, the right jab went, or I don't know. It's embarrassing to watch back, but I'm still in awe of that horse and the heart and determination that he showed.
Well, you had a right to be excited. I was excited, and then afterwards, I was wondering, wonder why Brittany didn't tip me off on that horse, 45-1. I'd put $10 down, $20.
I wish I would have just put $2 down. I didn't have any money on him.
You didn't, did you? I remember
Nothing.
Because all of us were kidding you the next day, right? Everybody was asking, "Hey, thanks for that tip."
You know what? I don't often wager. I just kind of, get caught up in all of the other work that we're doing that I don't get to do that. If I wasn't working, I'll never forget this pick 4 that I bet at Breeders' Cup when it was at Santa Anita, I believe when Beholder won. I wasn't working for TVG or NBC Sports at the time, and my friend and I just put together this pick 4. It was so much fun. It paid about $400, and I thought, it ain't getting any better than this, so I should stop.
You called Old Check up and said, "Hey, I could be the next handicapper."
I'll leave that to him. He's too good at what he does.
Well, I asked you, obviously, the juvenile, that experience you had last year, such a, lifetime memory. Did you have like certain races that you look at that you just are always happy to see them every year, whatever the situation might be at a Breeders' Cup over those 14 races, 2-day things?
Oh, definitely. The distaff, for whatever reason, is one of my favorite races. I love that they put it on Saturday now because it's a true, I don't know, it's a race to be celebrated. They all are, but I feel like having the distaff and the classic back to back just makes for this really, you're ending it on this massive note with the best females and the best males, or perhaps the female facing the males in the classic, which we might see this year. But I think I've just been really drawn to some of the females in the past, like Beholder, Monomoy Girl, Midnight Bijou, Royal Delta, and of course the great Zenyatta. So the distaff, for whatever reason, has been a top for me. But I love the turf sprint because it's run at a fast pace and everything can change in the final 16th of a mile. I love seeing horses with a wicked closing kick, and you tend to get that in the turf sprint.
And Santa Anita was a perfect place. I like the
for that down the hill. Me
yeah.
too. Me too. It's iconic. It's one of the, to me, most beautiful racetracks in the world. But that is one of the most unique configurations I've ever seen. So yes, that was always a highlight.
We're talking with Brittany Urton of NBC Sports, getting ready to cover the Breeders' Cup in just a matter of days now. Going to take a quick break. Back with more with Brittany here on the Horse Racing Show right after this. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Thanks for tuning in again this week. Delighted to have my friend and colleague from NBC, Brittany Urton, as we get ready for another Breeders' Cup. And, you were here in 2015 when Keeneland did it, Brittany. And me being a native Kentuckian and not living that far away from the track, I knew that they would do a good job. I thought they honestly, and trying to be unbiased about this because they don't pay me, they're not sponsoring this show, but I thought they did a really outstanding job. I mean, I thought it was better than maybe even they thought it would be. It doesn't seem to be much of a hitch out there.
I thought they did a fantastic job. There were a lot of question marks going in as to how a small venue like Keeneland was going to handle a crowd of that size in terms of parking and just getting into the track, the bathroom lines, the food concessions, etc. I thought they did an incredibly wonderful job. And I think that spilled over to Del Mar because Del Mar is a smaller venue as well. So I think they knew kind of how to go about things. So second time around, I'm so happy to see it back at Keeneland because I remember working at Keeneland that day. I was stuck on the backside. We weren't able to go in the paddock, so my role was just reporting from the stakes barn until the horses got into the paddock. And being able to do the walkover with American Pharoah and then climbing to the top of the roof of the racing office to watch him win is something I will never forget. Maybe I shouldn't admit that I did that because I'm not sure if I was supposed to be up there, but I was.
You're the new face of racing. You can go anywhere you want. I'll tell you, and I mean that.
At that time, I had no credentials to go anywhere.
Yeah, I'll tell you what impressed me about Keeneland, because you go out there on an average October or April meet. It's a bear to get out of there sometimes. So what I liked best about it was when they had the shuttle buses.
Mm-hmm.
And because that way the few of us that got parking passes, I was in and out of there quicker than I've ever been in and out of Keeneland on a weekend.
Shocking, right? Especially with the crowd that was there that day, and all in celebration of what American Fair did to complete the Grand Slam. I thought they did a wonderful job. Hats off to them, and I know they're going to do another great job this year. It's unfortunate, of course, that we can't have fans there, because fans truly make the sport what it is. You can't recreate that excitement that people bring to the track. But I know you and I will do our best to bring everybody at home the thrill and the excitement and the prestige that is the Breeders' Cup.
You always do. And, I got to, I do miss the fans, because everybody, you feed off that energy when you hear,
yes,
especially when they're coming into the paddock, or, the walk over at the Derby, and the buzz starts and continues to build. But from a working standpoint, it wasn't too bad. We could get around. I could see it wasn't like I was searching to see where the next interview was. I mean, that part of it was all right.
Okay, can I be brutally honest? Our job is a lot easier with less people at the track. It doesn't mean I want it that way, but it's much easier to find who we need. I'm not running through the course in my heels trying to make my way to the front side from the paddock. It's a lot easier.
It is. And somebody said, well, that sounds a little selfish. I said, well, I didn't say I was being magnanimous about it. I said, You asked me what it was like. I said, it was easier. But, the thing is, when you look back at it, horse racing did a great job this year of running pretty much all year round. I think we should give an extra thanks to Fauner Park and things. There was a horse race pretty much every day during the pandemic, and obviously continuing on. Some had to cut meet short, readjust.
Mm-hmm.
I know Santa Anita did, Keeneland did. They had to rearrange some things, but horse racing might have come together better this year, Brittany. Everybody trying to accommodate each other's racing dates, and I can remember them doing.
I think that if those outside of horse racing don't realize it before, I think they might now, that the industry is like a family. And when you're going through something challenging or difficult times like we're in right now, they come together. And I think that's what we witnessed in the horse racing world this year, is that they were able to adjust, which we know horsemen are very good at calling audibles. And I think they were able to put forth a product in a safe way that was able to keep so many people still employed. Because what many don't realize is that the racing product is the economic engine that fuels everything in the morning. These grooms, the hot walkers, the farriers, the acupuncturists, the vets, the trainers, the jockeys, the only way that they make a living really is by racing in the afternoon. And I think that when certain tracks closed down, it was very challenging for those within it to keep afloat. So I say hats off to everyone in the racing industry for being able to adjust and to keep these men and women employed and to keep these horses happy and healthy during a really, really challenging time.
I'm with Brittany Urton of NBC Sports. Just always has something insightful to say about racing when you watch her on TVG or on NBC. As we said, she's been all over the world. And, I want to go back to American Pharoah in 2015. I've told a few of my colleagues, our colleagues, they didn't disagree with me, but they have been pondering this. I said when Pharoah won the Grand Slam by winning the Triple Crown and the Breeders' Cup Classic, that we'll never see it again, because as with Justify, the money is so good out there. I just don't think anyone's going to keep a Triple Crown winner, whoever that might next one be, around long enough to run in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I mean, that's just my take on it. Am I way off on that?
No, you're probably right, unfortunately, because what the sport needs are the stars, and the stars to stick around, because you grow attached to them and you look forward to watching them run. For those of us in the industry, we get attached pretty quickly. It doesn't take too many runs. But for the general public that perhaps only tunes in for the Triple Crown or the Breeders' Cup, if we're introducing them to these horses, say in the Kentucky Derby, and then you don't get to see them again in the Breeders' Cup Classic or any other big race because they've been retired, I fear that we might lose fans that way. So I've always been a proponent, granted I'm not an owner, I just talk about the horses on air, that we need to keep our stars in training, to gain those fans, like Zenyatta. She stuck around, and look at her fan following. Or California Chrome, or, I know she's recently retired, but Midnight Bizu coming back and running second in the Saudi Cup. And, she's just given us so many wonderful performances. I wish our stars would stay in training, but I also understand that this is a business as well. And for those to keep buying horses and stay within the industry, they have to find some way to make a profit, if they can, to then give back to the industry, if that makes any sense. It's a little cyclical.
No, you're right. It makes total sense. And again, if there's a silver lining to this year because of the readjusted Triple Crown schedule, how many times are you ever going to see, again, the three winners of the Triple Crown races all running in one day, either in the Classic or maybe the filly possibly running in the Classic? But I would guess Kenny McPeek's going to run Swiss Skydiver in the Distaff, but they're all going to be there on the same day. And I don't know how many times we're going to get to see this again. So that's going to be special.
This year has been tremendously challenging, and that's putting it lightly. Just when you look at just the industry and its challenges, I think there's a lot of positive that we can take away from having to adjust. If we can look at the silver lining of having to move these races a little bit later, it's exactly what you had to say. We get to witness these stars at the end of the year in the Breeders' Cup World Championships, where perhaps in another year we might not. So I think there are positive takeaways amidst a really difficult year.
Is there a horse? I think my horse that I'm kind of interested in seeing, not that I don't enjoy all of them, because it's such a great day and you got all these stars from everywhere, which is what the Breeders' Cup set out to be and has maintained it since its inception. But I'm really curious. I'm really looking forward to seeing Monomoy Girl run in the Distaff. I'm
with you. And I know that a victory in the Breeders' Cup after having an extended amount of time off would mean the world to the team. She gave Brad Cox his first Grade 1 victory, his first Kentucky Oaks, his first Breeders' Cup win, and the owners were very, very patient in getting her back to the races, and she's come back at a high level. So I would love to see her get it done for them, because I know what she means to the team. I want to see Swiss Skydiver in the Classic. I'll put it out there. I think she's better with more distance, and it's a great story.
And Kenny McPeek will be listening, and a lot of people listen to you, so there is still hope.
Hopefully. He said he was going to wait until the 9th hour to make a decision, so hopefully that's where she ends up.
Brittany, I can't thank you enough for your time. I always appreciate catching up and look forward to seeing you in a matter of days here in Kentucky as we'll continue what has been a year for us of Belmont, Derby, Preakness, and now Breeders' Cup. We'll have the whole band back together, though, so that'll be nice to catch up with everybody.
I cannot wait to see everybody in the same room while socially distanced rather than over a Zoom call.
Exactly. Brittany, safe travels. I'll see you in a few days. Thanks so much.
Wonderful. See you soon.
The very talented Brittany Urton from NBC and TVG getting ready to cover another Breeders' Cup. Stay with us. There's more here on the Horse Racing Show right after this. This is the Horse Racing Show. Now, what a unique name. You know why? Because it's a show about horse racing. We've had interesting people on, celebrities, as well as trainers, owners, breeders, jockeys, and now we're catching up with an executive who has been a big part of the Breeders' Cup for years and makes it happen as the vice president of media and entertainment. And we go back to Eclipse days and all kinds of horse racing shows. He is Peter Rotondo. Peter, welcome in.
Hey, what's going on, Kenny? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, good to catch up. I know we'll see each other in person in a matter of days, but when you get ready for this Breeders' Cup, and this, I know this isn't obvious, but it's so different this year with another no fans in the stands as we've experienced with the Triple Crown. At least there's a Breeders' Cup, and I think that's huge.
Oh, I know. Listen, we've been trying to plan for so many different scenarios for so long, since April, trying to figure out how this was all going to go down. And, believe me, I'm just thrilled we're having it as and lucky enough that it's going to take place. I mean, some of the events around the world, have been full blown canceled, especially international events with so much going on. But our team in Lexington has figured out, following the right protocols, and we're ready to roll.
Now, really, Peter, was there ever a moment where it was on the cliff there where there might not have been a Breeders' Cup? Because, like you say, when all this started taking place, you guys jumped in immediately to figure out all the different scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think there was ever on the cliff. I think our team was so ahead of the game and so prepared since the beginning I hate to use the buzzword, but they were there to pivot in any direction that we needed to go. And so we were ahead of it as best we could. Of course, anything can happen, right? The government could shut down and,
sure.
They could shut down the state or whatever, I guess. But as far as we did everything we can since the beginning to make sure that this comes off right, Drew Fleming, our CEO, was on calls with with even the president and all those leagues on the first in those first couple of weeks. So we were involved in the conversation right from the beginning with the top level officials around the world and in the U.S. So we were pretty much ahead of it. So yeah, I mean, no, I'd say never on a cliff, but always monitoring very closely.
And and it looks like all the major players, horses and humans, that have been involved in the sport, it looks like everybody's coming, or right at everybody's coming. Of course, the staying healthy is the key for the horse as well.
Yeah, this is the time of year. This is the time of year in Breeders' Cup, to that 3-week period where you might lose a couple here and there of they retire or there'll be a slight injury. So I feel like we've seen a couple of those internationally, but the U.S. band it seems, knock on wood, I mean, healthy and ready to roll. So that's going to be great, but we're still going to have a huge international following. I think they're talking 30, 40 horses getting on planes to come out. So I think it's going to be probably the best fields we've had I'm going to say in a while, but I mean, obviously we've had every year is amazing, but it's going to feel a lot like 2015 as far as the racing goes.
Yeah. And, and we were talking earlier in this show about if there's a silver lining to what has happened for horse racing this year, it's going to be the rarity. And I know you mentioned 15, of course, we had the Grand Slam with American Pharoah. But how many other times are you going to get the winner of the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont all on the same day, maybe in the same race, although Swiss Skydiver likely will go to the Distaff, but you're going to have Tiz the Law running against Authentic once again. And had it shaped up to be a spring, as usual, Triple Crown, I'm not sure that we'd ever get to see this.
Yeah, it's been a while, right? I mean, I think, last year we had none of the Triple Crown horses in the – by War Will ran in the Classic. The year before I don't think we had any. I think, in the last couple of years for sure, it's been a bit of a slowdown as far as keeping them healthy or keeping them right, into the Breeders' Cup. So when the schedule changed, personally, selfishly, from a Breeders' Cup point of view, I was like, this is going to work out for us because, everything's closer to the event. When you start the Derby in September, and then you get to the Preakness in October, the 3-year-olds are still running. So I think having those 3 horses, hopefully whatever she does, but if she runs in the Classic, it'll be unbelievable. Have that showdown plus Tom d'Etat, Improbable, Maximum Security. I mean, then you get the most drama-filled horse of all time. We have a storyline.
Well, it's great. I mean, you can say this about most classics, but I think on paper right now going into it, this has got to be one of the better ones on paper when you look at it, to have the winners from Triple Crown races. Like you say, the first place finisher disqualified in the Derby last year, and then, some really terrific older horses this year. I mean, that should be a great capper to the whole 2 days.
100%. I mean, if you think about it, between Authentic, Tiz the Law, and let's say Swiss Skydiver for this conversation, and then into Improbable, Maximum Security, and Tacitus, who's back in it. They ran 1-3-4 or 1-2-4, 1-3-4 last year in the Derby across the wire. So it's like that never happens. Back-to-back Derbies, basically you have the top horses to show back up, and then the older like Tom d'Etat who's, the ultimate, they kept him in training and he's done an amazing job there. So as from pure sport, storyline, and betting, it doesn't get better than this.
We're talking with Peter Rotondo, the Vice President of Media and Entertainment for the Breeders' Cup, has done a great job for many years, and he's still just a kid. I mean, you were just a kid when you started this. Look at you, still going, and, and the Breeders' Cup has just been amazing how from the get-go this thing was established, and I believe the wild again, crazy, super finish capped it all off and just set a tone that's not really slowed down since 1984.
No, it hasn't. And I was 9 years old, I think, in the first Breeders' Cup. I remember every single one where I was as a kid with my dad, whether we were at the OTB in Staten Island or we were at Belmont in the backyard watching the Breeders' Cup when it was at Belmont, or wherever we wound up, for those races. And to think that I got a chance to work for them many years later, it was like a dream come true. So, we've been trying our best. Think about it, 84, and then, we expanded to 2 days in 07, and now we're at 14 races, 2 days. That Future Stars Friday we started a couple of years ago. Having all the 2-year-olds on one day, it's like a showcase, right? It's like the rookie game. You want to give them their day, and I think that's worked out really well for us.
With Peter Rotondo here, he and his dad are terrific handicappers too, by the way. Peter just didn't discover this sport one day. He grew up around it, and his dad's a terrific handicapper. And you mentioned these races. Are there races that just stand out that you just enjoyed? Maybe you cashed a big ticket, or maybe you just had a fun time watching some of these Breeders' Cup races over the years?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I immediately always think to like 1998, which, the Breeders' Cup day there at Churchill, you had DeHaas in the mile, who's coming to one race in 2 years and was beat down the lane and then came back and got up in the last jump there and fought back. When I think Tom Durkin with the greatest call, I think, in my opinion, kind of under the radar because he has so many great ones. But, when he says the greatest comeback since Lazarus, I mean, to come up with that line on the spot in real time, it's so cool, right? I think, how did he come up with that? But and then the classic that year, which I think was the best classic ever put together. And of course, we hit the pick 6 that day. So it was it all came together.
As a footnote, we hit the pick 6.
Exactly. Yeah. It's been there's so many great races, through the years. It's countless. And I think really I've been working on we're coming out with a series this week called Postcards from the Breeders' Cup. And basically we're going to look back at some of the races from 2015 champions that won that day, and then where are they now type stuff. So, we just did this story we're going to show on Stephanie's Kitten, who won the Filly Mare Turf in 15. And you think about it, she won the juvenile Phillies Turf in 2011, and then 4 years later won the Filly Mare Turf. Like, nobody talks about that. That's unbelievable. It was a 4-year layoff. And, and Ken Ramsey, God bless, I mean, he's talking about someone, you think he's on the payroll, the way he speaks about Breeders' Cup and how much he loves it and everything. So there's some cool features. We caught up with Liam's Map, and we caught up with Tepin, who's living in Ireland, making babies out there on Coolmore, with Coolmore. And it's there's some great stories that you just have to go back and relive.
Well, with Peter Rotondo, Vice President of Media and Entertainment, Breeders' Cup. Quick break. We'll be right back with more. Don't go away here on the Horse Racing Show. And welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Thank you for tuning in, be it Google, if you're listening to us on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeart, YouTube, one of the radio stations. This is the Horse Racing Show. We're talking to my friend of many years, Peter Rotondo, Vice President of Media and Entertainment at the Breeders' Cup. And when I think Breeders' Cup, I do think entertainment. It's more than just a horse race. To be honest, outside of the Derby, I think this is fair. Outside of the Derby, I can't think of another horse event in the States that is as much about kind of the whole event as it is about the races itself. And I know it's hard to compare the one Derby race, the big race. Everybody focuses on the 14 races, but I think I might be in the ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, I think back in like 2000. Well, if we really think back, when I do your homework, you look back to that first Breeders' Cup in '84 on NBC, and watch that show back, and you see, Frank Sinatra, Linda Evans, John Forsythe, the president, right? Gerald Ford is there, Cary Grant, is hanging out, Elizabeth, and it's like, oh my God, the celebrity. Talk about crazy names back then, and through the years, listen, we've had some A-lists, we've had some D-lists, right? But, there's a lot of fans out there that like horse racing and that have, that are celebs or athletes, especially athletes. And the one guy that we've become close to, and we wish him the best of luck right now, I think he's pitching, not tonight, but maybe tomorrow or the next day, Walker Buehler, who obviously is from Lexington, and, he's with the Dodgers. And this guy, he loves it. And he's so cool, and he's the nicest guy. He's always in touch. He'll be at the Breeders' Cup this year as an ambassador. We're going to put him to work on NBC a little bit too. So, he's just a cool guy, and he loves the game.
Yeah, I met him actually being a Lexington guy. Bob Baffert sees me 2 years ago at Churchill, and he says, "You ever met Walker?" And I said, "I know who he is, but, we're a few years apart." And I met him, and you're right. He's a really good guy. Saw him last year at Santa Anita, and I'm really impressed. He's picked up a lot of horse racing knowledge in the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, and he's one of 5,000 owners of Authentic, right, through My Racehorse. So I think he's really into it. You could tell. I'm not trying to name drop, right? But he literally would send a text message a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, "Aren't you playing?" And I looked up, and it was like the Dodgers were in the 6th inning, and he was out with a blister. But now we're just, we're obviously we got a lot of Dodger fans on the bandwagon now.
Yeah, well, your Rolodex. I mean, you can drop names because the ambassador list is pretty impressive. If like Bobby Flay, and who's such a cool guy. Every time I see him, he's just a cool guy to hang out with for a few minutes, and obviously knows horse racing and has been an owner and all. And Elizabeth Banks and
she's the one. I mean, Elizabeth Banks is the most impressive one of mine. So she legitimately knows how to handicap. Knows how to bet, and is into it. Her dad's the coolest guy. He's at every Breeders' Cup, so he's at every single one, no matter if she's there or not. And anytime Breeders' Cup comes around, she helps us promote it, whether she shows up or not. I mean, last year she had a movie coming out, so she was in New York on a junket, whatever. But before she left, she did the Open, if you remember, for the NBC, the Classic Hour, and honestly, they're ambassadors. They don't get paid. They do it because they like it and they want to be involved. And, they come to it when they can. So it is a nice feeling, when they want to be part of it. And they actually know, about racing, and they understand it, and they have a love for it. Because that's the key. You just don't want someone just because their name to be a celeb to be involved. If you need a little bit horsey in you,
Yeah, exactly. And is it tougher this year given, there's going to be some restrictions. I know like all of us at NBC, we're going to take our COVID test 5 days out before we even come to the venue. And, that's not out of the ordinary. Is it tougher this year for the ambassadors? And I guess for you all personally as well, people calling you up and said, "Hey, can I just get in? Can I, if I hide over in the corner, maybe I'll just be over there by the 5/8. Nobody will even know I'm here."
It's funny. I expected to get a lot of that, right? Because every year it's always the same sort of thing. It's the week of the Breeders' Cup, and everyone's trying to maneuver. But no, everybody's been super respectful. They get it. They're not, no one's trying. Literally, no one is trying to, do anything they're not supposed to do, which is fantastic. And it's actually a pleasure because I don't have to say no or be like, give me a break. You put me in a bad spot,
Right.
So, Walker and anyone who's there ambassador-wise will be part of the broadcast. I think we want to, just keep them involved, but they're not, that's it. It's not, there won't be many. And if, besides him really, so I think we're going to keep it super tight, be safe. I mean, that's the key. And make people watch at home. I mean, well, let me just give you one thing we're doing. So besides obviously NBC on for the 2 days, we have this called Contender Cam, right? So basically you're at home, you got your phone, you're on the computer, go to our website, and you could pick whatever horse you want, You hit the number one button or the 14, and there's going to be a camera on the horse from the moment he hits the paddock or she hits the paddock till they break from the gate. So basically, you could follow your horse the whole way around, and that's going to be good for the fans, the owners who can't be there, and obviously the bettors who, they want to see their horses anyway. So we're going to make you like as close to the action as possible. And that's never been done before. So literally 14 cameras on the front, the paddock, and then 14 on the other side, track side.
Wow. I've never heard of that anywhere.
Yeah.
That is cool. Impressive. And that's one of the things that you've done that's been really different. And let's face it, horse racing sometimes has to be dragged along, that it's not boxing and baseball and horse racing, the three world's most popular sports now. So the fact that you've gotten more involved, I think you brought a lot of social media to the Breeders' Cup. I'll give you all the credit. I'm sure you have help, but things like that, because the app and keeping up with it on iPads and all are so much as part of many sports these days, and horse racing now with the Breeders' Cup, and like you say, being able to follow the 14 horses, that's something really unique, and I believe that'll only help more fans come in.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's the key, especially this year now that, being that there are no fans there. You had to look at it a different way, and I think looking at it from where we are now could be the new normal, as well as, to cover the event where, even in wild success, there's only 50, 60, 80,000 people at an event, so a lot of people are home. So let's bring it to them as best we can. Obviously, NBC, best partners in the world. TVG, became a partner again after many years last year, and they do a great job. And they're going to be covering the Breeders' Cup all week with breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. I think it's going to start next Friday and go until Thursday, 3 hours a day. With the workouts, we'll be at Santa Anita with cut-ins. We'll be at Churchill with cut-ins. So it's going to, we're trying to expand this footprint, as much as possible. And then, of course, the social team, we'll be as safely as possible. We'll be covering all the stories we can.
All right, Peter, I know you'll be in Kentucky soon. I really appreciate your time, and I know you will not sleep for the whole week you're in Kentucky.
No sleep. No, right, no sleep till Brooklyn, right? Yeah, no sleep till Breeders' Cup, that's for sure.
Hey, thanks again. I'll see you soon, my friend. Thanks for being
on.
Kenny,
thanks again. Thanks for having me.
Peter Rotondo, Vice President of Media and Entertainment for the Breeders' Cup, as the countdown to Keeneland is underway. More on the Horse Racing Show right after this. Welcome back into the Horse Racing Show. Thank you for tuning in this week. Thank you to our guests, Brittany Urton from NBC Sports and Peter Rotondo, the Vice President of Media and Entertainment for the Breeders' Cup, as we count down to the big race. Next week, we'll talk more about that. This is our next to last show for a while. We're taking a hiatus starting after next week. It's not a goodbye, so don't get out the tissues. We're just taking a little bit of break. It's been that kind of strange year with COVID and everything else, of course, but we'll be back down the road. But again, we'll be back next week with a big Breeders' Cup preview, so be sure to tune in then. And we thank you for listening each week and for your support. And we'd like to remind you, if you want to go back and look at a past episode, listen to a past episode. We got 89 of them, right, Scott Hall?
Yes, sir. And during our break, we're going to organize them by, jockey, trainer. We got all types in there. You can dip your hand in that bucket and pull out anyone from, I don't know, Kenny, Michelle Phillips, all kinds of people. Yeah, not horse-related necessarily, but all the horse greatest hits are in there as well.
Yeah, Bill Parcells, Dan Issel, Avery Johnson. It's been a real treat catching up with so many people from different walks of life. And again, that's what's going to be coming up next week. We'll talk more about the Breeders' Cup coming back to Keeneland. It's going to be a little different without the fans, but what is going to be the same? The best horses in the world are going to be competing over 2 days, 14 races, over $30 million in purses, highlighted by the $6 million Breeders' Cup Classic. Until then, I'm Kenny Rice. Thanks for tuning in, and this has been the Horse Racing Show.